I could complain about it and really succumb to that, but I'm tired of living in that state. I'm tired of it. And so I have to remind myself like every day, like, no, like there's so much left. There's so much more to do. There's so much more to give. The more that I go through, the more that I feel an ability to connect with others that feel unconnectable.
Mhm.
I know that horribly dark, deep pit feeling.
Yep.
None of us, I don't think, would ever wish it on anybody.
Yeah. What is up, Maniacs? Today we're here with
DJ Toro.
DJ Toro. DJ Toro is an awesome individual. He's honestly a very good friend of mine, and I'm very happy to be sitting here with him today. You know, guys, as a seed, we got to go through dirt to grow. And in order to grow, you're gonna go through these hard times. And Toro here wants to share some of his dirt with y'all. So, Toro, what is some of the dirt that you've been through?
Man, I've been in the mud really since the beginning. I mean, we can start when I was 5 years old. My mom and dad divorced. I was born in Wisconsin, so when they divorced, she moved to Texas with me. So I got to see my dad just a couple times a year and had to fly up there. It was this whole ordeal. And then at 7, he actually ended up committing suicide. And I didn't actually learn that he had committed suicide until I was 12 at a therapy session. I knew he died, but I was too young for them to tell me exactly what had happened or how it had occurred and stuff. And once that, had became clear to me, the shitstorm, I guess, if you will, just kind of tumbled out of there from really age 12, pretty much for the rest of the time, just trying to figure out life, with no direction, no guidance, no, father figure there really, and really angry, not understanding my own emotions and stuff like that. So, uh, yeah, it started very, very young for me, man, very, very young, and what, and through my teenage years, my mom got remarried, and you know, I took that kind of as like a slap in the face, if you will, and, in my mind, it was still my mom and my dad, and I, thought of myself as her protector, so it was a slap in the face, so I rebelled, and, I felt completely alone and, did what any, I think, very alone kid would and tried to find love in, the streets and in drugs and, I mean, you name it, porn, everything. Um, and then that just became a habit and where I just kind of lived at, where I was comfortable at. There was finally a place where I felt comfortable, and it was in this chaos. It was in this shit that allowed more shit to keep happening in my life, like nobody else put me in positions other than me to be in those positions where more shit could keep happening. So I know that now, but at the time it was more so of like, damn, why does this keep happening to me? Why? I'm already down. Why do I keep getting kicked? So then I ended up having my son when I was 17, going into 18 years old. Got a girl pregnant. I actually, well, to back up a little bit, when I was 15, my mom had enough of my shit and she sent me away to a therapeutic lockdown facility in Arizona for 18 months, completely cut off from the world, no TV, magazines, newspapers, nothing, phone calls, anything. Uh, and then I came back and got a girl pregnant, and we got kind of forced into a marriage, if you will, by our families. They didn't want the baby to be born out of wedlock. And so, yep, we got married, and I joined the army and trying to, maybe this will be a good thing for me, some structure. And off I went and uh, did, fairly well with that during that time. Um, But during that time, my wife at the time left with my son. We got divorced. She moved to Texas. I wasn't around him anymore. So once I finished my time with the army, I decided to move back home to Texas and threw a going away party. in Colorado Springs where I was stationed at, and, it was also on my birthday, March 25th, 2009, and, got into another shitstorm, if you will, during that time. Basically, a friend of mine, that was coming to the party, she, never ended up making it. The 2 dudes that were bringing her ended up sexually assaulting her, and she ended up calling me, and I was with a group of friends and told us what had happened, and, we'd been drinking and stuff too, so we decided that we were gonna take it in matters into our own hands, and we went to their apartment and, I knocked on their door and, they said, "Who is it?" And I said, "Housekeeping," and they opened the door a little bit, and the rage took over, and I got into a fight in their house, and I got the better end of the stick on them, and I moved home to Texas. I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just a fist fight. These guys got what they were deserving, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I moved home to Texas and was here for 2 months, living with my mom again, just restarting life. I actually was working at IHOP, right across the street over here in Hickory Creek, waiting tables, just trying to do something. I was a field artilleryman in the Army, so there was
Mhm.
no uh, trades that were passed on, uh, that would be useful civilian side.
Yeah.
So I was starting from ground zero, and, was doing well. Um, Seeing my son, everything was going good, and then, 2 months after I was at home, I got a phone call from 3 different friends back in Colorado one night telling me that they, saw me on the news and I was on Crime Stoppers and that I was wanted for attempted manslaughter and first-degree burglary. And, I'd never really been in trouble. I'd been in a couple got caught with a joint here or there when I was a kid, little things like that, but I'd never been in no trouble like that, and to hear that, that fight that day never even crossed my mind, so when I first heard it, I was like, "What the fuck are they talking about? Like, this isn't me," they're
Yeah.
so I decided to call the police, the detective, and, you know, tell him what happened,
Yeah.
and boy, did that fuck me, so the US Marshals ended up coming and getting me 3 days later. They raided and got me and, fought at extradition for 3 months and then went out and ended up getting a 9-year prison sentence in Colorado, and I did 4 years in prison up there and 5 years on parole here, and, when I got out, I was, I wanna say 27, something like that. When I got out, I, came home, moved home, did my parole here, had to move in with my mom and them, and that was no easy cakewalk. Me and my mom don't I love my mom unconditionally, but being around each other for too long is just,
Mhm.
you know, there's a lot of trauma there that hasn't been
Yeah.
worked through yet, and so, me just getting out of prison, I have all these dreams and ambitions, and I'm ready to go, I'm ready to hit the ground running, and, so I got out, started waiting tables again, and then one day a girl asked me if I could teach her how to DJ at this little local bar in Denton on a Tuesday night when nobody was there. And so I started doing that, and then I invited a couple of my friends to come hang out and found out that I was pretty good at throwing parties and was like I just reached a point then where I didn't care anymore about, like, society's standards of living. I just wanted to be happy. I've been mad and angry and sad for so long, I just wanted to be happy, and I found happiness in music and happiness in throwing shows and stuff, so I quit all my jobs, waiting tables, this, that, and the other that were actually a source of income and just so focus solely on becoming a DJ and throwing shows and stuff. And there was no income in it. I mean, I was homeless for probably 5 or 6 years straight. And I mean, like genuinely homeless, not like I have a car to live out of. Like I didn't have a car. I had a trash bag of stuff that, if I slept on the street that night, that's what I had. If I slept on somebody's couch that night, that's what I had. But I was in the meantime throwing all these dope parties,
Mhm.
but all the money that I was making was going back and throwing at parties and stuff. So, I was going to bed every night asking myself, like, but are you happy? And at that moment, I was like, yeah, I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm not happy that I'm homeless, but, like, I'm
Mhm.
happy with what I'm
Yeah.
doing. So I kept pushing on with it and just kept holding on to that. I can remember being in prison and being like, "I'd rather be homeless than, uh, sitting here in prison." You know, I'd rather, be free out there in the street to be able to walk around where I want to than sitting here in prison and having my whole life told how to live and stuff. So once I had that opportunity, I didn't look at, like, the homelessness necessarily as a negative. I just it just was what it was, and I was finding happiness in what I was doing, you know? Um, with that being said, though, during this entire time, I was heavily involved with drugs and alcohol and stuff like that, you know? And, um, even when I was finding happiness, I was in, like my life remained in this horribly dark place where anytime I felt any kind of pain, it was too much to bear because I had already been in so much pain. So the amount of suicide attempts for me from really age 10 to I want to say probably 32, I think was my last attempt, maybe 31. Um, there's glimmers of happiness in there. There's glimmers of hope that kept me hopeful,
Mhm.
but the pain that, like, you just live in a constant state makes it to where when one bad thing happens or a couple bad things happen, it makes it feel like, "That's it, like,
Yeah.
no more,
Right,
I can't
100%.
do this anymore," you know? Being able to look back on it with a a much more understanding of my emotions, where I'm at myself, I can see how some of these things were not life-ending
Mm.
problems,
Yep.
but you can never tell that to somebody who's feeling that at that moment, you know? There's no way you could be like, "It's gonna be okay." You know, it's nice to hear, but it doesn't fucking really mean anything when it sure doesn't feel like it's gonna be okay,
Yeah.
you know? Um,
I just wanna say right now, I'm so happy you never fully ended up going off of the edge of the world because after meeting you, you've helped me out in so many ways, and I do appreciate you and the fact that we get to have this talk right now, that we can help out people who might be maybe on the verge of suicide or something crazy going on in their life. It might not even be that deep, but just
right.
I know this right now is just helping out them so much, so I appreciate you,
Yeah,
man, seriously.
I appreciate that.
You're here, and that's it's such a it's so cool to even know you, dude, like, you don't even understand, like,
Yeah,
bro, this house is badass. Talking about, like, class, like, bro, this house is crazy, Leon. He's a very cool person, and
yeah,
but so whenever it came from these dark times and this sadness, your last one you said was around 31, 32 years old.
yeah,
How has life been since then? And I know times are still like life is a roller coaster. It's not gonna stay up all the time, right? I mean, you still go through things that are hard and make you feel like, damn, like life, you
yeah.
know. But I'm curious, what do you say to yourself after like your whole past, like that keeps you kind of going in your day to day, especially when you go through something hard, considering what you've been through. What do you say to yourself?
How strong I am, you know? Um, like, um, the things I've been through and seen and experienced, you know, they're like I mean, my dad couldn't handle it, for instance, you know? And there's a lot of people who do succumb to the pain,
Mhm.
you know? And, the fact that I haven't or I didn't, you know? It really for me, when I bottomed out with the suicide thing, when I was like, "Okay, I can't keep turning to this every time as an excuse to
Mhm.
get out. I can't
Yeah.
I'm tired of the attempts. I'm tired of feeling like this." It was, you know, if I'm gonna choose to continue on, I have to accept that life may be shit. I have to accept that there's going to be more fucked up things that happen. It has to be like a mind shift change. Like, for me, it was literally just learning to dance in the rain because every if I look back on everything that has happened, every time I come out of it, whatever horrible situation it was, there's a I became a greater
Yeah.
person. I became something about me changed that became whether you wanna use the word hard or, um, I'm trying to think of how to explain it, but either way, whenever you went through something that changed you in such a way that was for the betterment of not only you, but the people around you if you allowed it to be.
Mhm.
Um, so the pain exists, but now I'm excited for the pain now. Like right now,
Yeah.
like I'm actually in this moment the happiest I've ever been in my life, but I'm also facing the worst
Mhm.
situation I've
Yeah.
ever faced in my life
Yeah.
at this very moment.
Mhm.
So again, this could be one of those things where I could easily be like, and have honestly, the thoughts do still come through my head like,
Mhm.
why is this happening to me still? Like I've changed my life around. I've gotten myself sober. I'm living a good life. I'm in therapy. I work on myself.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
life is doing this to me and trying to take my life away from me. So like uh I could complain about it um and really succumb to that, but I'm tired of living in that state. I'm tired of it. And so I have to remind myself like every day, like no, like, there's so much left, there's so much more to do, there's so much more to give. The more that I go through, the more that I feel an ability to connect with others that feel unconnectable.
Mhm.
I know that horribly dark, deep pit feeling
Yep.
none of us, I don't think, would ever wish it on anybody,
Yeah.
you know? So I think obviously you doing this and giving a platform to us,
Yeah.
including yourself is beautiful. I mean, it's just it's incredible to be honest. So I appreciate you doing that, but
Thank you.
um yeah, man, we could go on about this for a long time. It has been my whole life, man. It really has been.
Well, whenever you were like you said, you tell yourself that you're strong on this day-to-day basis whenever it comes to going through these hard times. I'm just gonna relate to you real quick. My sister, one time I was going through something really hard, and I gave my sister a phone call,
Yeah.
and she told me this one thing, and we used to go through a lot of trauma as kids, and she told me how, you know 'cause, like, what I was talking about, it was, like, probably some girl or something, and she was like, "That is not" like, she was like, "Yo, you have been through so much worse.
Yeah.
Chill out. Remember, you are strong."
Yeah.
So whenever you said that, I was like, "That's so beautiful." Because at the end of the day, like, I feel like every single person here, I don't care who you are, you understand pain. Like, you whether you wanna admit it or not, you've probably been through something, and you're probably hiding it in the back of your head. And that's why I love therapy because it'll push that out of you, and it'll actually show you that, "Hey, like, no, this happened to me, and I can
I
you know
can
what?
deal
I
with
can
it.
I can go through this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
How
Go ahead, sorry.
well, how do you are you willing to talk about, like, your therapy or, like, what you go through in the sense of, like, how what those things were that helped you?
Absolutely, and let me start by saying I've been in therapy my entire life.
Well.
I started when I was a child because of what happened with my
Mhm.
my dad, and the amount of bad therapists there are out there is astronomical, and it's such a thing that is it's a pet peeve of mine because it turns so many people who are in need of mental health off to asking for help because they're dealing with bad therapists or psychologists,
Mhm.
people who just wanna give you a label, "Well, you're manic bipolar, you're
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
depressed, here's your medication, do this, do that." That's complete and fucking bullshit. That's not therapy. Therapy isn't drugging up yourself to help deal with your emotions. Therapy is really digging into who you are who you are, when emotions happen, having right now in therapy for the last several months, I've been working on eh, I'm terrified of my anger, right? I'm terrified of it because I'm terrified of who I become when I'm angry. I'm
Mhm.
terrified of hurting other people. So I've never allowed myself to be angry, and then I have anger outbursts because it's all
Yeah.
pent up, right?
Yep.
So in therapy right now, I'm learning how to be productively angry. My therapist is encouraging me to be angry. Be angry about what's happening to you, like things like that. Um, Using my anger productively. The other day, I had an instance where the police rolled up on my mom, and I've kind of been getting messed with by the police lately, and so while she was leaving my house to come to my show, and they hit all their floodlights on behind her and blinded her out and shit, and then drove around her, and she was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" They were like, "Sorry, we're just running plates looking for criminals." It's my mom, my 70-year-old mom, and, sorry, 68. Uh, Sarah, she's at a killer, CC Blower. Uh, so anyway, in that moment, I was angry, I was furious. "How dare you mess with my mom?"
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I was able to channel that anger enough to be able to call the police department, ask to speak to a sergeant, and not scream and yell, but explain to him, "This is why I'm angry.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that this is actually what happened, but this is what seems to be happening. This is how I feel about it. This is making me angry." And when I had that kind of conversation with another human being, they weren't on the defense. They weren't like, "You're attacking me." They're like compassionate about how I was feeling and understanding. You know what I mean? Conversation went very, very differently. Therefore, I used my anger productively. So this whole idea of like, I don't want to be angry anymore. I don't want to be sad anymore. You should be all of those things, but you should be all of those feelings, those emotions in ways that are productive to you. You know what I mean? Like, trying to numb out. Have you seen what's that movie? The kids movie with the animated, characters, and they're all different feelings. There's anger.
Oh, yes. Oh, man, what is it called? I know you know it. Yeah. I know you know it's Disney Pixar.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a incredible example of how each emotion is important to the
Mhm.
overall person. Trying to get rid of anxiety is not healthy. You need anxiety.
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of fear, not healthy. You need fear. Trying to get rid of sadness, not healthy. You need sadness. All these, and so understanding things like that. So therapy for me, the reason I said I've had a lot of bad therapists, because from age 10 to 18, when I finally stopped, it was just cycling in and out with my mom going in and telling the therapist, "This is what he's been doing," and then them already having a preconceived notion of me, and then giving me a bunch of different drugs, and giving me a bunch of different, diagnoses, ADHD, manic bipolar, OCD,
Right,
you
right.
name it, I was it. Um by different doctors. So when I got out, when I became an adult at 18, I was like, "Fuck therapy, I'm good. I've learned all that I can learn already. I've already been through so much. I get how to talk to myself." Then it reached the point when I had my last suicide attempt that I was like, "Okay, let me at least get myself sober," right? So I started getting myself sober. That seemed to help, but I was still just overly sad
Mhm.
all the time.
Yeah.
My mom had been talking to me about getting back into therapy, so I reached out, finally succumbed, was like, "You know what, I'll give it a shot." And, I reached out to BetterHelp. It's this app you can FaceTime your therapist with, didn't really cost that much, and I went through 1 or 2 different therapists. It was cool because if you didn't like your therapist, you could just select a new one, and, you could do it as many times as you want till you found one that you linked with,
Wow.
you know? And then I stumbled across this lady, who's a PhD doctor of psychology. She's literally a professor of psychology at universities in Mexico and here in the US. She's authored, 20 something books. Like, she's just an incredibly intelligent woman, so much so that, like, I find myself to be intelligent, so I need somebody a doctor that I can look up to your intelligence, so
Right,
that
right. Yeah.
I don't have to agree with everything that you're saying, but I respect your intelligence enough to be like, let me at least think about this. You know what I'm saying? So, found her, complete paradigm shift in the way that I was trying to view myself in life. And in the last 2 years of being with her, I'd say, by beyond a shadow of a doubt, happiest I've ever been, even in the midst of the worst situation I've ever
Yeah.
encountered.
Yeah.
So yeah, therapy all day. Therapy all the way, brother. Just find the right one, find somebody who's compassionate
That's
for
awesome.
you know? Therapy all day.
I'd like to track back a bit. You talked about earlier how instead of just getting rid of your emotions completely, to use them. For example, like your anger, the way you used it, instead of being mad at the actual cops there, you went and called the sergeant or whoever,
Right.
whatever. But something similar to that. By the way, the movie was Inside Out.
Inside Out, yes, this and they have an Inside Out too.
Yes, they do. I haven't
Yes,
seen it, but
yes.
yeah. For me, my whole life, I've always felt like I never had anxiety, which is such a weird thing, right? Someone who's very depressed, all this, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
right? I've always felt like I never really had anxiety. And I have this thing, it's a really cool thing about me, and I call it like a superpower.
yeah,
It's like if I feel that feeling that most people call anxiety, I just turn it into excitement.
yeah,
And so, for example, when you were talking about that and how instead of like just dismissing this emotion, just like be productive with it.
right.
So like if I'm sad personally, I will design a shirt. I
Yeah,
would do certain things like that. Like for me, it's so and for you, whoever you are watching this, like don't be afraid to try new things and find something that might, you know what, like if you're one day you're just mad, go on a walk, take a nap, something, do just
yeah,
we're doing this because this not only helps us getting this out, we're doing this for you, right? The person watching this. We're trying to help you and then we want you to be better at the end of the day. So with that, man, thank you, man. Seriously, fuck. Like, you're such a great guy and
thanks,
it's
brother.
so cool. I have what do you want to say to people? Actually, I'm gonna say this.
Um, well, I got this tattoo. Says my story isn't over. Of course, with a semicolon, which is a suicide awareness symbol. Um, and that's so, so important to me. Being a victim of suicide on the other side of suicide, where I've now had to deal with the loss of my loved one my entire life. You would think, knowing how that feels, that I would never wanna do that to anybody else, right? I think where I got to in life when I was most suicidal was I knew that I was going to hurt people if I left, but I felt like it would hurt less if I left than if I stayed and continued to cause people around me pain. That was the worst part of suicide for me was because I was tired of hurting my mom, I was tired of hurting my family, I was tired of hurting everyone around me. It wasn't even about me anymore, it was about what I was the more pain I was coming into contact with everybody I was coming into contact with, you know? And so if you are in a suicide state like that, where, you know, it's not even just about the pain that's coming to you, but it's also about the pain that you're causing others, and you're aware that you're gonna hurt people. Understand this. My dad killed himself. I'm now 37. So my dad killed himself next month. November 14th will be 30 years since he's been gone. 30 years, it's 3 decades. And, I don't think there's a day that goes by that I don't bawl my eyes out. Miss him, my entire life is a completely different life. I'm a completely different human
Like
being than I could have been.
1000%.
Um, the ripple effect that is left is so much greater because now it's gonna be passed on generationally. My son and my kids will feel some of the pain that's caused from that single action decades after, he's gone. I posted something the other day. It was, you know, because I looked at him and I saw a picture of him and I was like, it was National Suicide Awareness Day, I think. And I was like, please remember ending your life doesn't end the pain. It just passes it on to somebody else. And so it's our load to bear, and every time it feels like it's too much, there's so much help. There's so many opportunities that are around you. It's not over. You're still fucking breathing. There's still opportunity. There's still the next hour that's going to come, you know. If you're at or a point where it can't get much worse, I feel that. And then it gets fucking worse. Like
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
that. And then it gets even more worse than that. you know? Um, Fucking stay on for the ride. This isn't just about the great fucking times in life. Your story isn't gonna be filled with nothing but happy fucking memories. In fact, the most powerful parts of your story and your book are going to be the ones that are filled with pain and heartbreak and loss. Um, that's, we all wanna be remembered forever. That's just, there's a part of us that, you know, wants to have a legacy, if it were possible. Well, if you have a legacy, know that your legacy is gonna be filled with your painful stories mainly because that's what creates humans. That's what creates us into, you know, the men and women that we choose to be, that we wanna be. Um, I don't know. Don't give up, please. Uh, know that, I love you, we love you, and there's a lot of people that depend on you. So stick with us.
I love that. One more question.
Yeah.
Why do you think life is beautiful?
Man, it's such a deep question, bro. That's such a deep, deep question. Why is life beautiful? Because I feel like it would take years to really fully say everything. I mean, we could
Yeah,
go down a list of physical things, we could go down a list of emotional things. And then, you can get into the philosophical side of things and be like trying to figure out the purpose of life and things like that. But
mhm,
me being having a philosophical mind, I've always asked, what is the purpose of all this? And I have personally come to the conclusion that the purpose of life, all life, whether you're a plant, an animal, an insect, it doesn't matter, is that you are here to create a better environment around you for the betterment of the future of the world, for life, right? So you play a pivotal role
mhm.
in being here. You play a
Yep.
pivotal role in the betterment of things around you, your environment around you, people's lives around you. I think life is beautiful because I've been given that opportunity to help make this world better. I've been given that
Yeah.
opportunity. We have all been given that opportunity to be here. We've all been given the opportunity to experience the feelings of being here, the good and the bad. Again, this is a paradigm mind shift. I'm not wanting to get rid of I don't wanna feel pain anymore. It sucks, I get it, but I don't mind feeling the pain anymore. I know that I'm alive through it. I know I'm still here. I know I still have more to go because of it. Think differently about your pain. Think differently of the reasons why you go through the things that you go through. You'll make it through, but life's beautiful because we had this opportunity to do this.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you, Toro.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Love you, brother.
I love you more.
Yeah.
And to the person watching this, if you stuck around for the whole video, we appreciate you. We thank you.
Thank you.
And no matter what, guys, if you're ever going through it, you're going through it bad, you can always call a 988. That's a big one. There is a suicide hotline out there. If you have friends, man, go reach out to them. Someone's out there that cares about you. I mean, even hit up the Maniacs for life. Hit me up on Instagram. I'll do my best to hit you up. Whatever, Snapchat, whatever. At the end of the day, there's people out there that care about you. I just want everyone to understand that and realize that we're doing this to help out. At the end of the day, your life is really important and your life is worth living. So stop suicide and be a maniac for life. And always remember that when life sucks, smile